Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Majestic Toe 8844 and it says, am I the arsehole here for defending my wife against her grieving family? We lost my father-in-law last May. My wife is doing 4 running events over the next 2 weeks to raise money for the hospice that cared for my father-in-law, so she's been putting her Just Giving link on her Facebook account to raise the money. This morning is her first event, a half marathon that she's been training for the last 4 months. There are 2 things that upset my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. 1, last February my sister-in-law texted my wife and caused an argument because of my wife sharing her fundraising on Facebook, saying it was upsetting mother-in-law. My sister-in-law has a habit of inserting herself into everything if it gives her a chance to put down my wife. Anyway, mother-in-law was with us while sister-in-law was texting and said, I don't know why she is saying this, I'm okay with that. Well, turns out she's not okay with it, as yesterday she got very upset seeing my wife post about the fundraising. 2, mother-in-law is not happy with the amount my wife contacts her and checks she is okay. For context, they have conversations almost every day, 5 out of the 7 days this week, and we've taken her on some family holidays since father-in-law's passing, but in mother-in-law's eyes, everyday contact is needed. On Friday, my wife told mother-in-law that yesterday she'd be focusing on herself in order to prepare for the run this morning. My mother-in-law was supposed to be coming to the finish line with us today, and then out for a meal afterwards. We received a message in the group chat from mother-in-law at 9:15 p.m. last night saying she won't be coming. She's had a bad day and the only person she has spoken to is my sister-in-law 3 times. Here is how the rest of the conversation went. Wife said, okay, sorry to hear that. I understand if you don't want to come, I'll tell you about it after. Mother-in-law replied, sorry that you've not made the effort to message or call me today. Dad would be so proud of your fundraising. OP replied, this is not on, stop. You could have called her. She's getting herself prepared for tomorrow and to message now just before bed is not on. Now my wife is in tears and won't sleep tonight, making it harder for tomorrow. Mother-in-law replied saying, we are both in tears then. OP replied, all because for some reason that you couldn't call her today and expect her to do it, even though she told you yesterday she was spending today getting ready for tomorrow. The conversation went on a bit longer, including how father-in-law asked their daughters to look after her and wife is failing that. He'd be disappointed and that the Samaritans care more about her feelings. Mother-in-law screenshotted these messages and sent them to sister-in-law, who then messaged me vile things saying I should be embarrassed for this and have some fucking sympathy. I'm fuming and my wife has been in tears since. My wife is in therapy at the moment to get help with her dad's passing and to also support her, as she often has feelings of not being good enough. This being an example of how she is treated by mother-in-law and sister-in-law who often gang up on her. I don't know if I'm the arsehole here because obviously they are grieving and have escalated the situation further, but I couldn't sit back and watch after all the effort my wife has put in. Now for me, absolutely of course not the arsehole here. Grief doesn't give someone a free pass to emotionally manipulate or be emotionally abusive towards their own child, especially not like this. You know, it's one of those situations and I wonder, is it all grief? I'm not sure if that sounds a bit mean or not, but I sort of wonder if there's a history of this kind of thing as well. OP's wife is literally honoring her dad, raising money, training for months, and still making regular contact with her mum, and somehow that was all twisted into not doing enough? That's not just grief, that's control, and it's really unfair at the same time. It was the timing in this that stood out to me, messaging right before a big event, knowing she asked for space to prepare, and then making her feel guilty about what her dad would think. That's incredibly selfish and really cruel at the same time, and then sister-in-law jumping in and escalating things just reinforces a pattern that OP said his wife is already struggling with, that she feels she's never good enough. And that makes me think about what's happened in the past at the same time. But OP did absolutely the right thing for standing up for her. But again, I think it's one of these situations where the wife needs to take a step back from these people for a little bit at least. Low contact at the minimum, because they don't sound like they're good for OP at the moment at all. Aussie Girl says to OP, your wife needs to back off mother-in-law and sister-in-law for a while for her mental health. They both seem like emotional vampires who are sucking the empathy out of your wife. Your sister-in-law seems especially toxic and no doubt she's feeding mother-in-law bait for her to feel neglected. Go low contact with both of them for a while and get your wife into therapy so she can deal with her father's death without the guilt tripping from her sister and mother. Big Cream says, not the arsehole, your mother-in-law needs some therapy, and I would suggest that you and your wife reduce the amount of time you spend with mother-in-law to protect your wife's sanity. Keep being the rock your wife needs. You're doing a great job. Quiet suggests to respond with this. My wife has juggled our family, your care, and her own health and well-being this past year with barely an opportunity to focus on her own grief. The fact that you and your other daughter continue to try to beat her down is abhorrent. Please seek therapy for your grief and your behavior towards my wife. My father-in-law may have asked your daughters to take care of you. It does not mean at the expense of their own well-being. If you cannot treat my wife with the respect she deserves and give her an apology, then I'm afraid we will take some space for a bit to allow everyone to breathe and reflect. Aggressive says your mother-in-law is emotionally abusive and is cutting her daughter down with guilt. It doesn't really matter what she does. It will never be enough for her mother. I'm a mean person that had to learn after a very dark time in my life that I need to respect and protect my peace. No one cares about your peace more than yourself. Your wife needs to tell her mother that she's taken some space away from them so she can heal. Her mother lost her husband, but she lost her father. She does not have the monopoly on grief, and that she's a failing mother and her husband will be disappointed in her behavior and emotional manipulations, not the arsehole. A commenter says everyone grieves differently. Some tactics are healthy, others are not. Opie replied saying, unfortunately my wife's tactic is avoidance. She needs to keep herself busy to avoid thinking about her dad, which is why she is doing the running and multiple other things to take up her time. Mother-in-law sees this as wife being too busy for her. One of the things my wife is dealing with in therapy is to overcome this avoidance strategy. But then OP came in with their update, and it said, mother-in-law turned up to the finish line without telling anyone she was going to. She texted me an hour before my wife was due to finish to ask where we were so she could stand with us. And I replied, I don't think it's a good idea to be here. My wife said the night before that she doesn't want to hear, to which she replied, tough, I'm already here. I did not let her know where we were standing as I didn't want to upset my wife further by her thinking I went against what she wanted. This has upset mother-in-law even more that I left her alone to stand there for 2 to 3 hours. Mother-in-law's best friend is messaging my wife telling her to give mother-in-law some slack. She's getting others involved too. Mother-in-law texted my wife last night, again just before bed, saying she was proud of her. My wife replied, thank you for the support. I'm still upset and hurt and would like some time. Mother-in-law immediately started off by saying she just wants to talk about the race and see how my wife is. My wife said no, she doesn't want to talk, and then the argument kicked off again. Apparently I've said some hurtful things too, so let's put the whole conversation on here and see what people think are the hurtful messages. This is a three-way message with me, mother-in-law and my wife. For context, the night before our half marathon, continued from the original post. First message below is the last message in the original post. I said, all because for some reason you couldn't call her today and expect her to do it, even though she told you yesterday she was spending today getting ready for tomorrow. Mother-in-law said that response has really upset me. OP was replying to, sorry that you've not made the effort message. Well, this message has really upset my wife and annoyed me. Why didn't you call earlier? Mother-in-law responded saying, I shouldn't have to. I thought our daughter would want to make an effort. Father-in-law told me that he asked both daughters to look after their mum. OP said, this is why my wife is having therapy. She's told you about how she doesn't feel good enough, and this is exactly the reason why. You say you're worried about her, then you guilt trip her like this. You can call too, and she does call you. Mother-in-law replies, the Samaritans seem more interested in my emotions. OP says, you don't seem interested in my wife's. She's been anxious about her half marathon all week and now probably won't sleep. Mother-in-law replied saying, no, according to Facebook, she's been plastering my family business all over it. That is referring to my wife posting her just giving link for fundraising. Wife replied, no idea what that means, stop now. Mother-in-law said good luck tomorrow with a love heart emoji. Wife replies, classic gaslighting, please don't message me again. OP then says, did I say anything hurtful? A commenter says to OP, you truly need to just distance yourself from both of them. I know that will seem impossible for your wife, but this is how things will continue to play out. She will never feel the need. Sister-in-law is for some reason also sabotaging any hope there used to be. Help her draw the line with absolute boundaries and help her stick to them. My husband did this for me and I adore him for it in hindsight. Her peace, mental health, and your marriage depend on it. Puzzled says, info. How does father-in-law having said that the girls would look after their mum mean that the mum needs to be telephoned every day? Mother-in-law is so manipulative in wanting her way and controlling your wife. Your mother-in-law needs to be put on timeout and your wife needs some time without her mum in order to reevaluate the relationship and possibly rebuild it with very healthy boundaries. Not the arsehole, but please stop entertaining your mother-in-law, as you're even doing by answering her calls and messages after your wife clearly indicated needing some time. Hope you replied saying, to be clear, I didn't answer that call last night. My wife did. And there's a lot of talk about grief in the comments, and there may be a portion of it, absolutely, but it also feels like this has been years of this kind of behavior. It might not have been, but I can't help but feel that way for me. What do you guys think about this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, quick trigger warning before we do get into our next story. There is talk of miscarriage within the story. You'll get it from the title. If you do want to skip this story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and on the timeline below. Thank you. This one's from Nelly Nervous, who says, my 24 female co-worker, 50 female, blame me for my miscarriage but is now frustrated I won't talk to her. Exactly what the title says. My co-worker / friend has been in a sour mood because I was given lenient clock in, clock out times this week because of my miscarriage. I took no days off and only came in and left early the first 2 days as the cramps were horrible. Finally, after she was being talked to about coming in late, she came after me, yelling at me, asking me why I'm not in trouble as well and how it is not fair she's getting yelled at but I'm coming and going as I please. Me, thinking we were friends, confided to her that I had a miscarriage. Her response, I told you were pregnant. Why the hell are you here? You need to be home. This is why you had the miscarriage. You don't care about yourself. You're being selfish working when you should be letting your body recover. What is wrong with you? You are being so stupid. You don't take care of yourself and then you wonder why you had a miscarriage. Come on, really? Who do you think you're telling this to? I'm a woman. I've gone through things like this. Don't look surprised if you find you can't get pregnant after this. Honestly, take care of yourself. And then with that, she announced she was going on break, and I sobbed in the bathroom. I pulled myself together and didn't speak to her for the rest of the day. Then it was the weekend, then she was sick and was gone, and then she had a family emergency and has been back, but I've moved desks. I'm hurt and angry and honestly, I'm not her friend. Today she tried to send me a birthday gift and I refused. She is pissed and doesn't understand my change in attitude. She also tried to coordinate breaks with me. I of course insisted that I break at a different time. This is making her frustrated, and I'm honestly at a loss for words on how to explain to her why I no longer want to engage socially with her. I'm completely amicable to her professionally otherwise. How do I explain to her I don't want to be friends with her anymore? Is there a way I can do it without causing her to explode? The first commenter says, forget being friends, go see HR now. Use the words, she's creating a hostile work environment. Perhaps visit legal advice first to check the exact legal issue. Hopefully the management can rein her in or even sack her for this appalling bullying. Opie says it's been a couple of weeks since the initial confrontation. I didn't say anything because I thought it would blow over. Is there still time to tell my boss about it? My boss is the let's talk it out kind of guy and I'm extremely hesitant to go that route. Commenter says go that route. The delay is irrelevant. Say you were too shocked to process it at the time, but now you've thought about it and plus how badly she behaved since, this can't be ignored anymore. Fuck, let's talk this out. Like I say, run this past legal advice before you meet the boss. If presented properly, you should spontaneously shit his pants at the potential liability here. Currently says, is your coworker from another culture? The way she reacted is similar to some older immigrant ladies I know, and it's their way of showing they care. Not saying it's right by any means, it's awfully rude and totally wrong, but it's probably what modeled to them as well. Definitely talk to HR about this, and maybe also tell her what she said was really offensive and you don't care to continue your relationship with her. Maybe she'll think twice next time before she verbally vomits on her next victim. Opie responds saying she's a first-generation immigrant from the Bahamas and she's been in the country for 20 years. She's had an outburst when she doesn't get her way. She hums and haws when our manager lectures her on something and always says everything she can to dismiss herself of any wrongdoing, but usually it's just with an eye roll and a yeah sure Carol, that sucks. Not a real name. She also openly complains about how mean her husband is for not letting her spend money on new bags, clothing, etc., but will gush over him randomly and show pictures of them going to dinner, vacation, etc. Again, it was just treated as a quirk in the office. She's always been friendly or funny otherwise. She brings things to potluck and signs the birthday cards, etc. I know the guys in the office avoid her like the plague, but I just assumed it was because she always gives unsolicited dating advice and likes to talk about her until she's blue in the face. I hadn't minded listening to her before because I didn't mind the conversation while typing. The thing that really got to me is I feel like she was directing her anger on me and grilling me as to why I wasn't in trouble. Commenter says, just my opinion. If she is actually clueless as to why you won't talk to her, I don't think she deserves an explanation anyways. Opie says no. When I refused the birthday gift, first time she acknowledged my existence since the outburst, I explained I wasn't comfortable taking it after what happened. She kept saying, wow, okay, I see how it is. The reason I haven't responded to comments really is because she tried reporting me for not giving her important information and causing an interruption in her workday. I spoke with my boss about it. It's ridiculous to say the least. There is a lot to unload now. Don't know where to start. Opie comes in with a mini update before the main update and says, first, thanks for the support. I didn't expect this to blow up like it did. Yes, we're getting through it and doing okay. Second, she ended up submitting a false report saying I interrupted her workday and withheld important information. It is false. I have witnesses. I was never alone with her. She had no details on what was held, nor did she have any proof, and when asked to clarify, she couldn't think of anything. I'll update the rest tomorrow, as now she has put a complaint on me, and it's very plainly false, and it's gotten a lot crazier. Opie's already got the right advice about going to HR straight away the second it happened, because this isn't a talk it out situation. Blaming someone for their miscarriage is fucked up, but then doubling down, acting like nothing happened, trying to force the friendliness, and even filing a false complaint when she didn't get her way, that's straight up harassment. And I mean, the fact that other co-workers already avoid her tells you this isn't new behavior, this is just the worst version of a long-standing problem. But OP came in with an update and said it's been a long day. First, I want to thank everyone for their love, support, and advice. I wasn't able to answer everyone, but no, I tried to read all of them. Thank you. This morning ended up being a meeting with my boss. Now, yesterday I was given a rundown of how she made a complaint of interrupting her workday and not being told important information. She did have an example, but it was a very stupid one. Co-worker, when she was at my desk, had apparently been staring at my screen. She saw that the usual application to log data we use wasn't up and went straight to assuming I wasn't working. What she didn't know is me and two other senior employees were using a new application that would be switching over to and was running on that application with the old one minimized. She then came back to ask about lunch and saw I didn't have the application up and went running to boss to tell him I wasn't on the application and I wasn't working, making it hard for her as she had to pick up the slack. My boss calmly assured her that I was working on a different application and all productivity is monitored. I get my shit done. She then, not wanting to be wrong I guess, doubled down and was upset I hadn't communicated that to her. I didn't even know. My boss asked her to elaborate on that and she brought up the application again and I guess they talked in circles for a bit. He let her know that he takes these matters seriously and asked for any examples of me not communicating. She had nothing. When I spoke to my boss, at this point I was upset. I finally told him what happened and explained what happened yesterday. He was not pleased. He let me know that I don't have to explain myself and that the next time if I'm in that situation to go straight to him. He offered his condolences for my loss. As for her, she is no longer allowed to speak to me. Anything work related must be done through the messenger we have or email. Though he assured me that as we're working on different applications, she shouldn't be reaching out to me. She has a laundry list of people to ask before me. He told me to document everything. Anything she does say, document it for the time being and be curt as possible. Today, she hasn't been around me. She even moved her monitor and keyboard so she's facing away from me. She hasn't said a word all day. It's been a wave of relief for me. Update. Wow. My first gilding. I'm very touched. Again, the warm wishes and all the condolences are touching. I never thought my thread would get this much attention. I also want to give out my condolences and internet hugs to everyone who shared their stories and losses as well. It truly helped me to not feel so alone. I'm sorry for everyone who's had to or has to go through a miscarriage. It's a scary thing and a very weird and sudden feeling of loss and empty feeling. Hope it's gotten or it will get better from here. Thank you. A commenter says to OP, damn, if your coworker isn't looking for a new job, she's a fucking idiot. Telling her not to speak to coworkers. That's a bold move. Sounds like he thinks she's creating a hostile work environment. OP says, well, as I mentioned before, she makes the male employees uncomfortable because she likes to ask prying questions and give relationship advice unasked. So I don't know, but I am also just mostly relieved that I have backup from my boss. I think another thing that he really seemed to stress is when she tried to report me from how he phrased it, professionally, was that she wanted me in trouble. She didn't care how. Also, I find it funny that she tried to report me for slacking when it's no secret she is the slowest, or at least one of them, to submit their work. Dax is a name says, I'm sorry the situation has escalated all the way up to your boss. That couldn't have been an easy conversation to have about such a private matter. I'm happy though that she's finally leaving you alone, and I hope you can move forward in peace at your job again. I hope he responds one more time saying, it wasn't, and I wasn't expecting him to be so sympathetic because he doesn't have kids and is an old army man. It's like a wave of relief after our meeting. I just came out of that one thinking, how was she not immediately sacked for saying that absolute vile shit? But hopefully they're just building a case. It might have been like the first time she was reported that kind of behavior. But hopefully she's on super thin ice now, and someone like that will step out again at some point in the future, right? But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from a throwaway account. It says, my 28 male fiance, 28 female, wants her dead late husband's parents to walk her down the aisle. Is this weird? Throwaway since my fiance knows my main account. A little backstory. My fiance, who I'll call Jane, have been friends with since we're in sophomore year of high school together. During this time, she met a junior, George, who she started seeing, and we all put our friend groups together. Eventually, we all graduated and Jane and George got married soon after. I always had a crush on Jane during our time together, but George was a great man who I still admire and knew they would be genuinely happy. Tragically, George passed about 2 years into their marriage and Jane was heartbroken, just having gone through the deaths of her parents a year back. During this time, she got very close to George's parents and eventually moved in with them. 2 years pass and Jane and I start getting closer until our relationship develops into one of true and deep love. We've been together for 4 years. We are now gearing up to be married in a few months, when a few days back Jane asks me what I thought if George's parents walked her down the aisle. She said that since he passed and she moved in with them, they became like her second set of parents and she wanted to honor them. I was kind of taken aback and didn't know what to say. I still don't. I get her point of view and I love her with all my heart, but having another man's parents there would be kind of weird. My question is, would it be weird? Should I open up a part of my wedding for his memory and his parents? His parents are really great people who've treated me like family since high school, but I'm still on the fence. I guess I'm asking this just so I don't continue to have a knot in my stomach whenever I think about it. She is the love of my life, so this wouldn't be a deal breaker, and I'm not thinking about calling off the wedding at all. Please don't suggest that, thank you. I just want to be able to look her in the eyes and say, I don't mind, without feeling weird about it. Campus Tour says to the OP, okay, first of all, it's her late husband, not her ex-husband. Even if she uses that term herself, it's probably smart if you don't, because those are two entirely different categories. Second, her folks are dead, and those people stepped up and took her in, probably like one of their own. They lost their son, which is an unimaginable horror, and did right by making sure that his wife remained family. And if they're able and willing to walk down the aisle while she marries you, then those are some truly amazing people. I can't imagine that strength to walk her to where their late son stood, and to see you there where he was. Hell, if anything, I'd suggest you guys worry about them, and if it's asking too much. Third, these folks may well be your new in-laws to some extent. And fourth, you say you admire George and that he was a great man, so consider it a high honor that his wife wants to marry you after he died, and that his parents would be willing to participate in the wedding. Fifth, and this is important and where I can give you the least advice, this man died while they were still married, still in love. There was no breakup, no divorce, he died. I'd start doing some reading, some research, something about what that means for you and for her, because I suspect that George is always going to be with her and with you in some way or another. If you're not comfortable with that, if you can't handle that, then you're going to have problems. But for this, I'd just consider this as the most tangible stamp of approval you can get that your marriage is good to go and blessed by the parents of the person she married, that love her and care about her and consider you worthy to stand where he stood. Hope you reply saying thank you so much for this reply. Apologies for the term I used, I'm all over the place today. You've got it on the head. They are amazing people. I really hadn't thought of it that way since it's just normal for them to be around as family. I will check in with them when I meet them for dinner later. Truly, thank you. I keep reading your comment over and over and it's all clicking for me now. I love her so much and George's parents have been a fountain of support for her and she to them. It makes sense for them to be honoured in this way since they're comfortable and happy to do it. The commenter says, parents aren't who gave birth to you, they're who take care of you when you're at your worst. I hope that those people are the same, but they need not be. Hope you respond saying, I think this is the comment that hit me in my feelings the most. I'm embarrassingly emotional about the whole thing, but this comment made me a lot more emotional. Thank you. Hope you then edits the post and says, thank you for all the advice. I'm having dinner with my fiancée and her adopted parents tonight and I will talk to them. I see how this would be a wonderful thing for all of them and I'm realizing how lucky I am to have them in my life. I feel so stupid looking back at how much I've stressed about it in this past week. Thanks again. And I absolutely don't blame OP for feeling a certain way about it because, you know, it's pretty human. We all have our feelings, right? But once you actually sit with it, it actually sounds quite a beautiful thing. These aren't just her late husband's parents. They're people who took her in after she lost everything. They've been her family through grief and she's still their family even after their son passed. That doesn't disappear just because she's moving forward with you. If anything, the fact that they're willing to walk her down the aisle, which the commenter said, to marry another man says a lot about their character, about how much they respect you. And I really think the key thing is you're not competing with a past relationship that ended. You're joining a life that includes loss and love at the same time. And that's always going to be a part of it. And it sounds like you're walking into what sounds like a really solid, compassionate family. And it just sounds lovely. But OP does come in with her update and says apologies for not replying to all the comments. I had a busy day, but the ones I did get to were so touching. We all spoke together last night after dinner and it went great. I told them I would love for them to join us together since they were there during the hardest part of her life and they mean so much to her. A lot of these comments opened my eyes to her situation and I just wasn't thinking clearly. We all shed a few tears of happiness and are getting ready to start planning the wedding. After they left, I spoke to her about George and just checked up on her to see how she was doing emotionally. She said that she's sad but mostly about her parents not being there to help her through this. She's grateful that her adopted parents, as she calls them, are with her. I sometimes do get insecure and in my own head, but I'm working through that daily and weekly with a therapist. I also make sure to do emotions checkup with Jane to see how we're both doing. I did want to mention, this was never about me letting her do it. Jane is a headstrong woman who doesn't need for me to let her do anything. It was mostly about me feeling weird about it and wanted to shake that feeling of, oh shit, what's happening? Talking and communicating is so important that I needed to feel comfortable before anything. I get her point of view now, and I get how important this is to her and how that feeling of weirdness has gone away, and we continue to the stressful part, wedding planning. Thank you for all your kind words. I'm an emotional dude, so my eyes got misty reading some of these comments. Thanks again. And for me, that was an absolutely lovely update. You can really see the difference between reacting and taking the time to understand. Instead of digging your heels in, you actually listened, you reflected on it and had a proper conversation, and it just turned out wonderful by the sounds of it. And that you was checking in on her emotionally afterwards and that you're aware of your own insecurities and working on them too. All good things. And after that, all I can wish you is a happy marriage for both of you and your adoptive family as well. Sounds like a lovely time, and it sounds like it'd be a lovely wedding too. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it if it was you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.